Hi everyone, it's Sue again. Just wanted to show you the latest junk journal that I've done. This one I've done as a gift for my beautiful mum for Christmas. She loves the garden, has always had a beautiful garden from when we were growing up as little kids. She's got a much smaller garden now, but still it's beautiful and she loves it. So hence the botanical theme of this garden. I've done it more of a lookbook than a journal that she can write in. I've given her several journals over the years and she never writes in them. She just likes to look at them. So I've packed this full of images and tags and tips and tricks for gardening, although she probably knows all the tips and tricks anyway as it is. This beautiful stamp here that I've used, I've stamped on some seeded calico and then sewn that onto this bag that I've actually made to store the album in. It's just a drawstring bag. The fabric is just absolutely stunning. I'm very lucky and I work in a quilting store here in Australia, the Quilter's Angel. Work with two beautiful women, Marion and Steph, who own the store. So I get all my fabric from them. So I will show you through this journal. Here we go. As you can see, I've titled it Botanical Tea, which my youngest son thinks is hilarious because I've used the stamp several times through the journal. And he said, I think that she might get the idea that it's called Botanical Tea, Mum, so I guess that's the idea. So on the spine, I've just used an old book that I've taken the pages out of and covered it with the fabric. I've done nothing else except to add this stamped image on the front and some corners. I just don't think that it needs anything else. The fabric's beautiful on its own. I've added an eyelet in the back and just a hair tie for the closure, and then on the closure I've added some charms. I've added love, just a beaded charm that I've made myself, and this beautiful little bird's nest with little bird and eggs in there. On the spine I've put a tassel, another beaded charm that I've made, and just a gardening spade there as well. This is just a brad from Stampin' Up, I think. Okay. It's very, very chunky and I never know where to stop. I just keep adding and adding and adding. So it doesn't lay very flat, but it's not, as I said, to journal in, it's more of a lookbook. So I'll just go through this with you now. So in the front here I've made a little fabric pocket that I've strengthened a bit more with some cardstock on the back, and I've sewn some fabric trim, left all the frayed edges, lots of string hanging out, and I've used my beautiful Imperial Mercury typewriter to type most of the words and phrases in here. This little tag I actually got out of a friend's book that she had, and it's called The Gatherer. It's a poem just basically saying that she gathered words to string them together, bits and pieces out of the garden paper. So that sort of really talks to me, because that's me, a gatherer, and that's my mum, who is a gatherer as well. So on this page here I've done a little bit of mixed media collage. I've used a bit of modelling paste through a stencil, some bits of paper scrap that I've torn, ruffled some paper and some stickers, and then I've just inked it to mute it all. That's turned out really quite lovely. Just made a pocket. This is just another little pocket here with a journaling card inside, and I've inked it all. These images came out of a gardening book. They had some beautiful images in them. I've just cut them down and just adhered them directly to the page and just inked around the edges. Done a bit of stamping throughout. It's just a little bit of washi tape. This is the cover off the original book that I was going to use, and as I said, I don't know when to stop, so it just got too chunky for that particular cover, but I loved, for that particular book, sorry, but I loved that cover, so I've included that in the book here as well. So I've just made a little tuck spot there with die cut, some tags, and on the back of this I've included some photos of my mum's garden. My sister and I clean her house once a fortnight, and so we raced around and sneakily took some photos of her garden to put in this journal without her knowing. I just wanted to add something personal and special for her. On this page here I've just used a bit more calico, and this can actually be a tuck spot if she wants to put something in there. Just used scraps of hessian, buttons, cheesecloth, a little bit of cardboard off a carton that was being thrown out. All my pages are tea or coffee dyed. I've done this tag with book paper, pattern paper, and a serviette, and I've decoupaged that on there. Now it's running out of the matte medium, and so some of the serviette hasn't taken completely in places, but I've left that. I like that look. I think it just adds to the rustic botanical garden look. Some Tim Holtz papers, which are just beautiful. I'm pretty sure that's Tim Holtz. Or is that Seven Gypsies? Sorry, I don't know. I've got bits and pieces of paper and embellishments everywhere, all out of packets. I wouldn't have a clue really where they come from, sorry. This is a stencil that I've just used using the Tim Holtz ink. This, I think, has come from Target many years ago. It's just a little bird paperclip. This is a one of my drawings. I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like to doodle and mainly just use black pen. Love feathers, so pretty much had to include a feather in this journal as well. And I just wanted to make it really personal, just put a bit of me in the journal for Mum. This is just a paper doily with some stickers that I've put on there. It's another image out of that book, and on here just made a little tag, the poppy, and this flips out, and in here I've actually typed on my typewriter the history of the poppy, how it all came about, and the story of the poppy, what the poppy means, what it doesn't mean. And then I've also included the poem In Flanders Fields with regards to the poppy and the war. Completely missed that there. Just a little card slip in there. This is actually a bag, a gift bag that I've covered and inked up. Inside I've just got a page out of a gardening book, fertilising, watering trees and shrubs. Different information. She probably knows all about that anyway. I just thought I would add that in there. Some skeleton leaves there that I've stuck down and just secured a bit more with some washi tape. This idea, which I absolutely adore, I think from Nick the Booksmith, I think I saw that and thought, yep, I love that idea, I'm going to do that. So just your butterfly wings as tabs, and they go over the 2 pages. So I've done that throughout as well. I also love tabs and bits and pieces hanging out the top, bottom and the sides of the journal. So I've just adhered this tag and added some seam binding and just made it into a pocket. This is a serviette that I've decoupaged onto a tag, bit of seam binding and a little rosette, and just decorated the back with another one of Mum's garden images. A bit more fabric trim. This is just a book out of a page out of a gardening book on characteristics of orchids. Once again, that paper speaks for itself. Beautiful protea. This little pocket here, it's so much fun doing this. As I said before, I'm a quilter and I sew. I love hand embroidery. I could sit for hours and just do it. So I just drew this image and then just hand stitched over it, and I've just made it into a little pocket. And I've just put cardstock on the back just to make it a little bit stronger and to hide those threads so they don't get caught with the tags. These are a couple of tags that I've made using serviettes as well. Enjoy the serenity. I'm getting to use up some of my wood veneers, which is good. And I've just included more images of Mum's garden in there. This one is this says Serenity. It's out of a dictionary. And this one says garden. So just a bit of chipboard there. Another one of those tabs. This is a just another little collage that I've done in there. It's just a image out of a book that I've done. I've just backed with some coffee dyed paper. Just a few more photos of Mum's beautiful garden. It's so peaceful and beautiful sitting there. Just another little card. This is just another bag that I've inked up. Actually, this is coffee dyed. I'll just put another card on there, and this is just another image out of a gardening book that I've added in there. On this next page, I've just put a journaling spot over 2 pages, a bit more fabric, and a journaling card. This is out of just a little gardening book as well, so I've just added that as a tip in. Here's another embroidery that I did. That's of that feather that I had drawn in there earlier. So I've hand stitched that on a bit of calico and just made a collage, and I've used micro beads. I've decided these are my newest favourite product. Absolutely love them, except when you spill the bottle, which I did, and they just went everywhere. Oh well. This is another image that I've drawn. In this, this is still the first signature, sorry. In the second signature, I've left more blank pages so that she can add more photos or do a little bit of writing if she chooses to. This is just a stamp that I've stamped on some coffee dyed paper. Just added a tag in there. And this is the other side of that cover. It's just beautiful. So that's the first signature. This is the second signature, and as I said, I've left more pages blank in this one so that she can add more of her own writing or photos if she chooses to. This here is just, I've cut off my silhouette when I first got it, just practicing, and it was done on some pearlescent paper, and I didn't like it, so I just put a heap of Tim Holtz Distress ink on it. Frayed burlap and vintage photo, I think it was, and yeah, I don't mind the way it's come up. Any of these quotes I've done on the typewriter. Oh, this is a gardening tips and tricks little envelope that it's actually a glassine bag, one of those brown glassine bags of Tim Holtz, and I've just covered it in pattern paper and made the closures, and in there I've put I cheated and did this one on the computer, and just did some hints and tips growing passion fruits, tomatoes, vegetables, how to attract birds to your garden, that type of thing. And that's all done on coffee dyed paper. So she's going to add more bits and pieces in there if she chooses to. So more sewing of floral fabrics on there, and just a little collage that I've done down the bottom there. It's just another tag from Serviette. I love how that doily image has transferred onto the paper when I've baked it. I think I'm going to go back to baking my paper in the oven. I have started laying out a tarp and just spraying the paper and letting it dry naturally, and it doesn't transfer quite as nicely, I don't think, as when you're baking it in the oven. This little page here, these are a stamp that I've had for about 25 years and I still use it all the time. Beautiful leaves, and what I've done is I've just stamped on there and used copper, gold and silver embossing powder, and then cut them all out individually. And the quote is, "Autumn is the second spring when every leaf is a flower." I've just done that in my own handwriting, just so there's just makes it a little bit more personal as well. Just another pocket. Stenciled a fern. Some more botanical stamping in there, and some more micro beads, as you can see there. It's another serviette. These little pieces came out of Daphne's diary, and I've just made them as tuck spots for her. So this is, I still like this. This is using the tarp, so I've just sprayed the paper, tipped it over, and it's picked up the excess coffee from the previous sprays that I've done, so that's quite effective. It's a little mason jar and a little paper clip that I've made using fabric leaves. Serviette. It's another serviette. A stamp. This is on an envelope. This one I've baked in the oven. You can see that I've used a muffin tray there to get those images there. I've just enclosed the middle of the signature inside that envelope. These are just bits of scrapbooking paper that I've had scraps and cut up. And in here I've just put a little postcard with a little verse. Perfumes are the feelings of flowers. And this is actually out of an old writing set that my partner found at St Vincent's de Paul's for me. And I've actually, it says delicately perfumed, and I have actually sprayed that with some vanilla perfume. It smells nice actually when you take it out of the envelope. So this is, you can see the transfer here. This is using the tarp, and it's picked up the excess coffee. So this is where I'm hoping she'll add some more photos of her garden, a bit of writing. So that's the second signature, and we're on to the last signature now. I've just included a bit of Hessian and a poem about the rose. Made a little pocket here. It's with a tag. So really there's still a lot of room for her to journal if she wishes to, but I don't think she will, to be quite honest. So this is a little bit of vellum that I've had sitting around for a while, so I've just used it as a fold over 2 pages and just put a quote on there. Made a little paper clip out of some rosettes. That's another drawing that I've done. This was an absolute disaster, this page. I'm not overly happy with it, but it's in there now. I can't do much about it. This was a beautiful serviette, really soft in colour, really pale pink, and it was Mum's, and she loves bluebirds, so I pinched one from her and decoupaged it to the page, and it was obviously only a cheaper serviette, and the colour went neon pink, so I've had to gesso it down a bit. I've added some modelling paste and then inked it to try and sort of mute it a little bit, so it's in there anyway. It's another one of those Daphne Diary pieces, and then just a piece out of a garden book. This little tag that I've made, if I can pinch something. So it's there's a tuck spot in there behind there if she wants to use it, a little tuck in here, and then on the back there's another tuck spot there, and I've just put a little quote on there. It's done with my typewriter as well. The Botanical tea again, I like that stamp. I don't know who, I think it's actually one just from China, and I got it off our D-Stash site, but it stamps up beautifully and I love it, so I'll be using it more. Just a little tag. It's just a little, what do they call them? Terrarian, I think. So I've just used that as a little pocket tuck spot. This is the spine off that book. Love it. It's really, really fragile. I've backed it with paper just to strengthen it a little bit, but I've kept all the torn edges. I have no idea what, there's some like old tape that's still a bit sticky on there, but I think that just adds to the charm of the book. It's just a little journaling spot. That's the other side. This one was absolutely horrid underneath there, so I've just added a tag for a pocket. Yeah, a tag for a pocket, so she can put something in there if she wants to. It's just a little bit of sewing and cheesecloth, a little metal embellishment, some fabric leaves. That's another tuck spot as well. This is the baking paper that I've actually used when I've baked my paper in the oven, so I've actually used that. I can't ever get anything to stick to the baking paper, so I have to sew it on. So I've just sewed an image and these rosettes, and then just repeated it over here. This page here, this was another serviette that I decoupaged on a page, and I didn't like it. Didn't turn out how I wanted it to, so I've just cut it up and I've just used that as a little pocket tuck spot there for her, and just added some charms. A bit more fabric, and this is the last page. So I've just hidden a little letter in here, personalised a letter for Mum, and I've put the date and just some nice words in there telling her how much I love her, and I hope she enjoys her walk through her paper garden while she's having a cup of tea. So, and then on the back of this page I've decoupaged book paper and a pattern and serviette again, and then just done some cheesecloth and buttons, and then I've just done a little book plate on the back there for her as well. So she received it, she cried for about half an hour, and she sat there for about an hour looking through it, and she's given it back to me reluctantly to video to be able to show all of you, and she said she wants it back quickly so that she can look through it again. So I hope you enjoyed looking at that. I absolutely loved putting it together. I'll be doing some more botanical albums, obviously not as heavily decorated as this one, but more for journaling in the future. Thanks for coming and having a look, and hopefully we'll talk to you or see you soon. Thanks again, guys. Bye bye.